Hey, hello everyone, I'm David Guerrero and welcome back to another video here on Many Ways Films. To start, I'm gonna say that my main camera, or the camera that I use to go everywhere, is a Nikon camera. I've been a Nikon user since I was around 13 years old, so a little bit more than 10 years. I've had one with me since I was 13. I currently have a Cam M4 and this Nikon that I'm shooting with right now. I think it's easy to say that the Cam, it's a much heavier camera. It's just a little bit awkward to hold. Even I think it has the best looking image out of the cameras that I've ever had, and one of the best cameras I think there is right now for the price. But the Nikon camera that I have, the Z6 II, I carry it with me almost in a daily basis. Every time there is an important event or I'm going somewhere, if it's a vacation or I'm just going outside with family or friends or something like that, I bring the Z6 II with me all the time. And I used to have the 24-70 f4, which I think it's an excellent lens. It's an f4, so I didn't have too much fun with it. It wasn't a very fun lens to have, and I know that won't make sense to a lot of people, but I personally like prime lenses because I just like to move. I think moving rather than zooming, and getting close or just having a standard view from your lens and it doesn't change makes really interesting for really interesting pictures and videos. I also like to have at least a 2.8 aperture, especially since prime lenses have that option, and it looks really good. And I currently have the 50 1.8 in the 28 2.8. I find myself using the 28mm lens a lot just because it's very small, doesn't weigh anything. It has a 2.8 aperture and it looks really good on the camera. The Nikon Z6 II or 1 or 7, they're small cameras. They're not that big, and they're actually very light compared to like a D850 or a bigger camera like that. I think that the images that you get from a Nikon camera, it doesn't matter if it's an older model like the 3500, the 3400, you're gonna get really good looking images if it's either video or pictures. The lenses, I don't know. I have tried other types of cameras without being specific. They're actually pretty fun and I like them, but I just feel more comfortable with Nikon, even that it doesn't have the fastest speeds, or it might not do 4K 120 or 10-bit video internally, but I really like it. It's just that Nikon has really nice designs. They're really easy to hold and comfortable, and they're just really good quality. I think that the Z6 II, it's a little bit more expensive than it should. I think around 1500 will be a really good price for a camera like this, but that's just how it is. Besides the Nikon and the 28mm lens, I use the Rode Mic Go 2. I was using the Rode Mic Pro and the Rode Mic Go, but since the Rode Mic Go 2 came out, I just love the sound out of this microphone. It sounds really good. I find that I use it to record stuff on my computer, and it's just a really handy microphone. Really small, it looks pretty cool, and the best thing, the sound is great. It's not just good, I found it to be really great. It's pretty affordable actually. If you have any DSLR camera, I would totally recommend to have the Rode Mic Go 2 more than any other microphone in the 200 less price. This one is only 100, and that's what I'm using right now. I record in 24 frames per second, 150 or 160 on my shutter speed. That's what I do if it's outside and if it's sunny. I don't really care to go up to 100 or even 200 on my shutter speed, but anything more than that, I find it to look pretty awkward. It just doesn't look right. So anything above the 200 shutter speed for 24 frames per second, I don't think it's appropriate, or 30 frames per second. If it's 60 or 120 frames per second, I really don't care. I don't care about the shutter speed, if I'm honest. I would like to have some motion blur on the videos, but I think it looks fine. I actually think it looks pretty good when you're doing 60 or 120 and your motion blur is not too obvious, or you don't notice it that much. I try to balance between highlights and shadows. I find that it's a lot easier to bring back shadows in the Nikon Z6 than it is to bring down the highlights. So I would aim more for the highlights, and I have the zebras, which you can add on the Nikon Z6. You can just put them in there and it would tell you if your highlights are too high. And the only thing that I haven't been able to see, and I don't think you have the option, is to see if your image is too dark that you lost that information. Most of the time, as far as I can see it in my camera, and the highlight is not too high, I think that's fine. Especially during the sunset, where it's very difficult to aim for a really good light, especially when you're doing 8-bit. It can get pretty tricky. In that case, I don't mind to have my highlights a little bit high, even if I lost some of that information, because it's just the sun, and I'd rather be able to see perfectly the subject that I'm trying to get than a perfect sun in the background. I have brought the Z6 II on many different trips. I'm gonna go very soon on another one, and it's the camera that I'm gonna take. I definitely will take the 28mm because I find it to be more, not comfortable, but more handy and more fun lens, if I can say, than a 35 or a 50 or a zoom lens. So the 28mm, I think it's just a perfect lens. Not the lens itself, like build quality and all that stuff, but the range, the 28mm range is really good. So if you have a Nikon Z body, I would totally recommend the 28mm. I would recommend you the Rode microphone. Both are actually affordable for the system, or a microphone or a lens. They're on a pretty good price. The Nikon Z6 II, it's a little bit expensive. If you can get a Z6 II, just get it. But I would debate between getting just a Z6 or getting the next Nikon camera that will probably come in a year or two, hopefully. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks again for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. See ya.